I wanted to measure your success as an employee, what matters most. Welcome to this week's live. Now, last year we made a lot of content, but this year we're going live every single week.
We go live every single week?
Yeah, dude, that's what we need to do to dominate this industry. Guys, follow us on every social platform, subscribe on YouTube. Now let's get into this week's episode and head into the studio.
What's up, guys? We're live. It's the first one of the year with me and Sebastian. Shout out to that new intro video. If you guys like that new intro video, the creative team put it together. It's going to be our new intro video here for a little bit. Give it a thumbs up. Give Laura, Justin, and Shelby a shout out, and the rest of the video team. What are you looking at me like that for, Laura?
I think this is the shout out.
It is the shout out. She always has new people come. Oh, and Colin, see, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
See, she always has new people coming in the video team, so I always forget some of the ones that are in there. But welcome to this live. What are you shaking out over there, Shelby? I'm not forgetting you guys. There's just so many of you guys. You guys are the biggest department that we have right now.
Yeah,
So
you forgot it was me in the intro video.
oh well,
Sick
yeah,
invite.
yeah. Well, Sebastian, you got to introduce yourself here when it comes to these lives because you're my partner in crime. So, Sebastian, introduce yourself if you want to.
How's it going, y'all? I'm Sebastian. I do business development here at MFG Tribe. And today we're talking about how to deal with opportunities that don't close quickly. And if you are doing anything in especially capital equipment sales, but general B2B, there are a lot of decision makers in that pipeline that you have to work through. A lot of impromptu vacations and week-long email responses. So we're going to dive into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Alex, point one, what do we got?
We're gonna do the strategy, coming behind this, give you guys some tips and tricks. Whoever said that patience is a virtue obviously didn't work in industrial sales or B2B, because as you guys know, those sales cycles are a long time. Let's be honest. Sometimes waiting for a deal to close feels like watching paint dry on a humid day in the Arctic. It gets pretty painful. All right, so being the lame icebreaker intro that I just did, let's get into it. We have this new iPad that we're using here, so excuse me if I mess up or have to go hold on 1 second because technology is not my best friend, but I tried to do a little bit of research on how to use this iPad. Man, I'm sounding really old talking about how I have to do research on how to use an iPad, Sebastian.
Really
You're gonna have to take over this technology thing for me, man. You're the young one. Maybe you should be the one doing this next time. All right.
I'm just going to doodle.
Yeah, that'd probably be more interesting to watch than some of the things that people put out there. But hey, make sure you're always putting out video, as we always say, no matter what it is. All right, point number one, understanding the reason behind the slow close. So understand the reason. Because there's going to be multiple. There's always going to be reasons for the slow close, whether that be the decision makers, it's a 2026 plan that they're going to do, future plan, whether it be that the person that is your champion or your initial contact might not be the decision maker. There are plenty of reasons why there is a slow close. There's never one, traditional reason why the slow close is there. Most of it is pretty similar, as some of the examples that I just mentioned, it being the decision maker turnover, the budget cycle, complex buying committees. Sometimes when you're dealing with these really big B2B companies that are coming through, there's multiple people within the committee that are deciding what to buy, what to purchase, and what's the next step forward. So understanding that reason, and every reason or every opportunity that you get with a slow close is an opportunity to learn. Understanding that reason and using the things that you've learned to close these slow closes in the future. Because for the most part, if you're able to really understand the reason, you're going to be able to assist yourself with steps that you're going to take, with things that you need to do, with people within your team that you need to bring in. You're really going to understand the next steps in and just get better and better at it as a sales guy. You have anything you want to add there?
Absolutely. No, I think it all starts in your discovery and qualification process. Picking companies that are within your size, and the bigger that you go, or within your reasonable size that you can service effectively. The bigger you go when you're getting after those whales, are typically going to be longer processes because they're going to have a lot more questions. They're going to have a lot more experience within their team, and so they're going to have very specific concerns that you need to address, and you're not really going to know those unless you're asking the right questions in discovery. And so learning about the decision-making process, who is on the team, have they already got a budget assigned? Do they not? Do they need to take it to their boss? And then the last one really is, what's their timeline for implementation? If you have a service, you may be more keen on starting quickly. If you are selling physical product or expensive equipment, you may have a little easier time waiting.
Yeah.
Because you understand that it takes 6 months, 12 months, 18 months for engineering to go out, for them to actually take a look at the project and see what it's going to take to implement, is where services are typically quicker.
Yeah.
And so something that I see on our side, especially looking at big companies that sell capital equipment, purchasing from service-based businesses, is they're not in a rush, because everything that they do is very slow, it's very methodical, it's very planned.
Yeah.
And so just being aware of that going into it can help you digest what's happening. It'll help you say, okay, this isn't moving really slow. It's moving slower than I'd like, but at the end of the day, it's a reasonable pace. 4 months, 6 months, 8 months selling a service in our space is pretty reasonable.
Exactly, because as Sebastian mentioned, it's one of those that you might think that it's a close or a slow close. It might be not heading in the direction that you're heading in or that you're wanting it to head in, but understanding that reason why it is being a slow close could be the key. As Sebastian said, okay, I don't want it to, can't talk today. Okay, I want it to close faster. Why isn't it closing faster? Okay, when you're looking into it, okay, it is usually a longer sales cycle. I'm only in month 2, and the average for this sales cycle is going to be 6 to 8 months. You can't expect every single deal coming through your pipeline to beat that sales cycle or that average sales length. There is an average sales length there for a reason. There is understanding how long it takes to sign these clients, on an average basis. And you need to utilize strategies to make sure that even if you're not touching them every week or every 2 weeks, that they're still in the forefront, that you're still in the forefront of their mind, because when that decision does come to being made, you want to be the first one they think of. So not necessarily not doing the touches that you want to do, or not doing enough touches can really hinder or hurt you. So again, I'm gonna add a little bit of humor, or try to here, Sebastian. Half the time, the decision-making process is delayed because some Karen is out there on vacation and has forgot to sign the PO. Karen, if you're out there, please go and sign the PO. So making sure that you're out there and that you're, touching base with clients and understanding that clients are people too, that if things aren't moving along in the pace that you're wanting to, but you're doing the strategies and implementing the to-dos and the emails and the follow-ups that you're doing, that eventually it will close. If it is the right client, which we'll go into here in the next point that we're going to be making. Sebastian, do you want to read this next point for me?
Qualify like a surgeon and not a fisherman. So we're not casting nets. We're being very specific. And this comes into ABM strategies. When you've identified a target account, you've engaged with them, and you're now in a discovery call phase, you need to be asking open-ended questions that lead them to talk. And typically what we like to ask about is internal processes, internal structure, and then timelines and budgets around what they're wanting. Their layout of their team and what they're currently doing is going to be a huge indicator of potentially how serious they are, how quickly they move, or what services you're going to need to provide them.
Yeah.
And then inside of the timeline, the budget, the constraints, understanding what they qualify as success. Probably the most important thing out of that discovery call is finding out what they consider a success and whether you can achieve that. And if you can't achieve it and you can't find a reasonable way to achieve it inside the scope of their timeline, then just know that you're not the right person to suit them. While it sounds weird to say they're unqualified because you could service them partially, I think it's better to become better equipped to service those whales later.
Yeah.
Keep in touch with them every 6 months. Make sure that you're aware of what opportunities they are looking for, and then when the next one arises, you can be prepared.
Exactly. Everything that Sebastian just said is going to fall within this BANT. It's budget, authority, need, and timeline. If you can get all these questions answered, for example, if we're going to go through it, you get the budget example. They're coming in, this is the budget that we have to have. If you are selling capital equipment, if you're selling a service, no matter what you're selling, if they come in and they're drastically beneath, anything that you're going to be able to assist them with, you need to let them know that. If somebody comes in and they're trying to buy, a machine and they only have $100,000 budget, and your cheapest machine that you're selling is 400 to 500,000, they're not going to be a fit. That in and of itself right there is a way to make sure that you're qualifying actual clients that are going to sign, not qualifying these clients and going and moving them through the process, even in your heart of hearts, knowing that they're not going to be able to afford my services, or if they are, we're going to have to discount things. We're going to have to do a lot of extra that isn't really worth the money. You also have to sit there as a salesperson when you're qualifying and go, is this an opportunity that we can be successful at, and that the company that I'm representing is going to be able to to excel? Because if you're going to sign up a client and you're not going to be able to at least excel or be above average, you're not going to be a differentiator, and they're not going to come back to you. Everybody is looking for that next step. That what will the term be? That edge. That edge that they're trying to have. So the service or the product that you're selling, again, budget is going to be the big thing. Won't go into that too much. I guess I'm going to get on my horse about budget, just because sometimes people come in and, and sometimes as a sales guy, you're going to have to be the one that's going to have to tell them, hey, if you might be one of the first people that they're coming and talking to, whether it be a service or one of the capital machineries that you guys are selling, you might have to tell them, look, no matter where you go, it's not going to fit. So you might need to go back and readjust your budget. And being honest with them and open with them and telling them that builds that sense of trust as well.
Yeah.
So going into the authority aspect of it, he touched on it, making sure that the people that you're speaking with are either the decision makers or they're able to assist in the decision making aspect of it. If someone's coming in, you have some people that are reaching out as a sales guy that when they come in, they're trying to help assist them and they're trying to help you sell to upper management. So identifying those and understanding that, okay, this is a lower level that's not a decision maker, something that I'll need to nurture and probably put more effort into because I'm going to need to meet the authoritative figure eventually. So that's going to end up in and of itself becoming a longer sales process, because you're going to have to go through steps. You're going to have to win over, first of all, the person that's coming in that's trying to replace the need, as well as the authoritative figure that they're going to bring up. So at that point, though, it'll be two sales guys on one. So if you get that champion that's coming in that's trying to fill a need that they need but needs to sell it to a decision maker, you have 2v1 there. So make them your friend, make them want to choose you as a partner so that you guys can team up and really sell that service or product. Then understanding their needs, understanding their wants, understanding what a positive relationship, whether again be service or machinery or whatever partnership that you guys are going to move forward with, understanding their need and understanding what makes it a positive interaction or a positive business relationship. And then again, timeline, understanding when they're going to make their decision, because they can give you a lot of answers pretty quickly just with these 4 questions that you're going to ask, as well as timeline. You'll have some people that are coming in, hey, I'm learning at pricing. You'll have some people that are like, yeah, I'm going to make a decision in 3 to 6 months. And then you'll have some people that are like, I'm not going to make the decision here for 12 to 18 because we have to build a space in order to put this in here. We're working on X, Y, and Z project before this is made. If you answer these questions, you're going to make your life a lot easier, because you're also going to put this into your notes. You're going to forget about it if it's a long time process. But if you have these in your notes and you come back to it and you're able to look at it, you're going to be able to follow up with questions that you have answered as well. So
you sure are.
Anything else there before I keep going?
I'm good. I'm happy.
Awesome. We're going to go into point 3 here. Point 3 is going to be nurture without nagging. So, see, here we go, technology, erasing.
And that's a hot topic, because if you're talking to SaaS salespeople, that's twice a day. If you're talking to people that sell really expensive equipment, it could be once a month, I guess, if you're nurturing. But it comes down to the comfort level that you can take away from your prospect in that discovery call. Mm-hmm. Kind of understanding their pace, their personality, and how quickly they're engaging with you can be a reflection of how quickly they expect you to engage with them.
Exactly. So when you're nurturing or you're following up, if you've gotten the questions answered that we had in point 3, again, budget, authority, need, and timeline, when you're going through and you're nurturing things, if someone has, or nurturing one of your clients, if someone has come in and told you that, my decision-making process, it's January, we'll use this year as an example, I'm going to make a decision in September. So let's say that they put September is when we're going to be making our decision. So that's 7 months or 8 months away from now. Yeah. That's an 8th month decision cycle here. They've given you all the answers here. You've got the need. You're talking. We'll just, for an easy example, we're talking to the authoritative figure here, and you understand their budget. So their timeline is set for September. So nurturing without nagging. if you want to follow up with them and stay in the forefront of their mind, maybe share some relevant news with them. Maybe provide some case studies randomly throughout this nurturing process, because you're going to sit there and you're going to be able to engage with them, open up a conversation. Maybe you're even going to bring up a pain point that they weren't even necessarily aware of, that you're going to then be able to provide a solution to. Providing these relevant news, relevant information, or even offering free tools or resources. If you're selling a commodity, if you're selling a machine, you're not going to be able to maybe do so many resources, but you're going to be able to teach them. If you're selling software, give them a free trial. Be like, okay, hey, maybe if I give them a free trial and they really like what they're, utilizing, maybe I can get this process quicker. So making sure that, again, you're nurturing without being annoying. And then in each industry, there is a different level of annoying. In industrial, it's going to be a little bit slower. As he said, is SaaS, you're going to be aggressive and you're going to be pestering people a lot, because in software sales that people tend to make decisions pretty abruptly. For the most part, if you're going to software sell someone that you're going to have to implement a whole new program, whether it be a CRM system, a tool management system, that it's going to be a long time, because they're going to have to either downtime the tool management system, they're going to have to pull their tools offline. So even providing resources that way, understanding their pain points, but maybe coming up with a solution. Hey, the downtime might be this, but we can set it up in 2 days. So if you guys aren't, working on Saturdays and Sundays, the shop is closed on Saturdays and Sundays, then maybe we can come in on a Saturday and Sunday and do it. Yeah. So providing those solutions without nagging. I just provided, for example, one of our clients, I had a client that was, mentioned to me that they're going to make a decision in January time to follow up, end of January, beginning of February. So this week I sent them a hype video that we just created. The awesome video team here created about us, sent it over to them. He loved it and is now moving forward with us. Just because I sent them a hype video, just because I sent them that touch point of like, hey, look at how awesome MFG Tribe is. Drinking from the Kool-Aid a little bit really can help you as well with showing how awesome you are, because everybody wants, again, that edge. Anything that I missed here, Sebastian?
No, I think that you got it.
Perfect. Well, then think about following up like dating. If you're going to call somebody every day and ask if they're official or if we're official, it's probably a no. But if you're going to send them,
send them some flowers.
Yeah, send them some flowers, send them some chocolates, maybe take them out on another date or two, or maybe to the movies or something like that, then it turns into official. So don't be annoying, but also don't forget about them. Making sure that you set up in your CRM system those follow-ups and everything like that, and putting that stuff into place here.
It's good use for tasks.
Yes.
And I think if you're doing, of course we have the most experience in a service, done for you service, is if I know it's going to take 6 months, 8 months for somebody to close, or there's some kind of extra delay, I'm sending them resources on, hey, look, it is so important that you start optimizing SEO. Here's a couple of great videos we put together on doing it yourself. So that way when we come in 6, 8, 10 months, we already have a platform started.
Yeah, exactly. So you can make your lives easier as well if you're giving them resources that they can implement now, that you're just saying, hey, whenever this does, whether you choose us or another firm, agency, company, whatever it might be, if you're able to assist them in making that next step easier, they're probably, again, another resource that you're applying to them. Another reason why they should choose you is because you're there helping them even before they're, necessarily paying for it. But not going overboard when it comes to that. So, and we'll touch on that in a little bit here. So,
we're building long-term partnerships. There's no such thing as overboard.
Yes, I would agree. I agree with that statement. There can be, but I think that you'll have some good notes here that you'll be able to touch on one of these points when I bring it up. So, leverage urgency without manipulation. So, leveraging urgency, if I can spell leverage. Leveraging urgency is very important in certain industries. Again, when it comes to, you need to recognize the industry that you're in. You need to recognize the sales cycle. You need to recognize whether urgency is something of worth. Sales or software SaaS, definitely urgency worth it. Maybe sometimes going into machinery and some of these service-based things that are more time-consuming. Maybe urgency is not the best use of either your strategy or your time, because they're just going to come back with you and be like, dude, I told you 6 months from now is when we're making the decision. You offering me 10% discount if I make the decision in 4 weeks is just going to annoy them. And it's also going to get to the point where they're not going to trust you. They're just going to be like, all this guy is trying to do is sell me. But having that urgency. We all know working with software that there are times, end of quarter, end of month, that, you know, discounts are thrown out a little bit more and you have a little bit more ability to give clients discounts. So if you have that, sharing it with them, not necessarily telling them specifically, hey, if you sign today or within the week, I can save you this amount. You can follow up with something easy, being like, hey, you know, we're offering discounts currently through the end of the quarter. Let me know if this is something that you want to take advantage of. Giving them the opportunity to come to you to bring it versus you forcing them into having to go yes or no. So let me write this down. Is there anything that you wanted to touch while I write this down?
Sure. Is it the only way to create urgency without manipulation isn't just discounts? There's a lot of ways to go about it. And again, starting in our rooted discovery call, our favorite thing to go back to, whatever you can learn about why they're searching for it. If it is they're losing money or they're not taking advantage of opportunities, there is an opportunity cost to not starting with you, whether that's starting with a service or buying your equipment, and finding ways to highlight that. I think case studies are a great one. If you're selling machinery, you can say, look, you could produce this many more parts per day, hour, week, whatever that metric looks like, and showing them actual data behind it of like, look, you are leaving money on the table by not implementing this sooner. I'm here whenever you're ready to move forward. I just want to let you know what this is costing you an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. You know, especially if you're doing a service, you know, we use our marketing services as an example just because it's something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. But, you know, marketing, for example, if someone's going, hey, we're going to make a decision in 3 to 6 months because we want to have, you know, X amount of money, or they share with you, we want to have X amount of leads and X amount of new business coming in by the end of the year, and we're going to make our decision in 3 to 6 months. Pushing that urgency of, okay, if you're going to have these large, lofty goals, reminder that marketing is not a turn it on, everything's going to come on kind of thing. It is a step process. We have to develop strategies. We have to implement these strategies. We have to let the machine start moving before things come in. Same thing when it comes to a machine. If you're selling a machine and they're like, hey, at the end of 2025, I want it set up and running because I have this deal that's coming in, making them understand, hey, okay, the purchasing, you know, time is going to take this amount. If it's a custom machine or custom product that they're doing, it's going to take this amount of time for me to build it. So creating that sense of urgency, because they might not be aware of all the roadblocks that are in place, and making sure that you share those roadblocks as soon as you realize that they could be a potential with them, so that they understand things can assist you. Because then they start going, okay, if we realistically have to have it by here, we might need to move our timeline forward. So
Yeah.
oh, I'm erasing things here. So again, discounts are not always the best, because sometimes if you give discounts, they're going to just expect that the discount's going to follow whenever they come on full, or if it's just going to continue. If you're offering them a discount, make sure that it's a discount that's worth their while, as well as not going to put you and your company in a predicament that if they do decide to stay on 5, 10, 15 years, that you're not going, well, I signed them on at this price and realistically I shouldn't have, because now we're losing money on it. So again, coming back to this, qualifying like a surgeon, not a fisherman. Make sure that their budget can fit within what you guys are doing, so that you don't have to offer those discounts. Because if every single deal you're coming across you're having to offer discounts to, you're not qualifying the right clients.
Or your product isn't as good as it should be.
Yeah.
Price point needs to be reevaluated.
Yeah, and sometimes as a sales guy, you're sitting in those positions where you realize, hey, maybe the thing that I'm selling is, you know, not the greatest thing. Maybe we need to reanalyze some things. And sometimes you bringing that, even if you are a lowly sales guy, you bringing that to attention of leadership. Yes, half the time they're probably gonna sit there and go, the tough stuff, that's what we do, that's how we sell it. Other times you might be able to bring it and they might recognize, okay, maybe we do need to take a look at it. And then you are going to be seen as the expert, and you are going to be seen as somebody that brings value to the company, and maybe you'll get, you know, promotion out of it or something like that. So
Depends on how often you're getting a price objection.
yes.
Occasionally, people are going to price shop. They're never going to be your best client because they're looking for the cheapest possible thing. If every objection is price related, could be an indicator.
Yeah, a very strong indicator, especially if
Research your competitors.
yeah.
See what they're charging. See what you're being compared to.
Yes.
But that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah, a whole nother rabbit hole, but honestly understanding that is a very key thing, because if you're coming in and you're, you know, double what your competitor is going to be, no matter how amazing of a service or product that you're going to offer, they're not probably going to choose you. Just because if you're double, they're going to be able to buy 2 of the same machines or the same products that they're going to buy from you from your competitor, unless you offer something that they do not. If you have that customized, you understand, hey, this is what we pay if you're going to come in, waving at Kyle right there. If you're going to come in and you're going to have a customized, you need a customized, machine or product or whatever it might be, again, service, that you need to understand that your needs and your budget don't meet. So again, bringing those roadblocks in place is important.
I feel like a toddler in daycare. With it, when they would drop you off at the gym, daycare.
Yeah.
Your dad to go work out.
Oh.
And then he comes by and he's like waving at you through
Yeah,
the glass. That's what
that-
it feels like with Kyle.
That's
Sitting in his seat.
that's a
Oh.
very accurate, that's actually a very accurate description. It's, hey, there's Papa over there. Okay, so going into the power of multi-threading. We've talked about this a decent amount in lives before. The power of multi-threading, getting multiple decision makers, getting multiple people that can assist in the decision-making process to to build those relationships, to have the threads, to have multiple people attached to threads, to send these resources to multiple people. Because guess what? If person A gets fired or is sick or goes on vacation, you have plan B, C, D, however many decision makers or however many people that you form these relationships with to fall back on. And even if it's the main decision maker that's the one that's ghosting you, being able to touch base. I have plenty of clients and plenty of potential clients right now that the main decision maker is really hard to narrow down, but I have that champion that I touch base with and they come back. I'll get the VP in a meeting in January. Like, I'm trying to hammer down the VP. The VP is going to be in the office here. So making sure that you have multiple relationships, because if one avenue fails, you have multiple other avenues that you're going to be able to take. And it also holds somewhat of a need to do, it holds them accountable, because if they're ghosting you, and they're not giving you information, but you're replying to that multi-thread, they have a very higher likelihood of answering you, because if their boss is attached to it, their boss is going to go, why are you not responding to them if they have information? Like, I told you that we're not doing this anymore. I told you that this is pushed back to this. Why are you not relaying this information to the sales guy? Because honestly, a lot of the people that you're dealing with aren't salespeople and don't understand how hard that is and annoying that is to just be ghosted. And we're going to talk about things even more so here on how not to be, how to overcome those being ghosted. But the multi-threading aspect of it is going to be very powerful. So add these notes right here. I keep getting the eraser. So again, building those relationships across the account, not only having one champion, having multiple. And honestly, it doesn't necessarily have to be the decision maker. As I said, having somebody that can really, help the decision maker make a decision or help you get in front of the decision maker is just as important. I'm good on that point. Anything else you wanted to add on that one, Sebastian?
No.
This one is going to be really hard for some sales guys to swallow. It is going to be probably one of the most difficult ones to swallow for the ones that are high achievers, that are out there hunting, that are, the dedicated, you're the closer here. It's going to be really hard for you to grasp this, but you need to understand when to walk away. You need to know when I've done everything I can. I've given them all the resources. I've given them everything. I'm still getting ghosted. I've done everything that is possible for me to I've put everything in place for me to for them to make this decision, and there's nothing else I can do. You need to know when to walk away. You need to know when it's not worth your time, that you need to be focusing on other things, because every deal that you have takes time out of your day. If they've told you the sales cycle is 3 to 6 months and they're going to make the decision in February or March, and it is August, and they haven't talked to you, given you any sort of new information, you've been calling, you've been sending them LinkedIn messages, you've been following up with decision makers, you've been following up with other people within the company, you've done everything. You can say to yourself, I have literally done everything. Now I'm just doing the same thing over and over and over again. Maybe it's time to walk away. Maybe it's time to go, okay, we're going to put this in a nurture where I'm not having to do anything myself. I'm going to set up campaigns that they randomly get a touch every month or two. But they're no longer taking time off of my plate, and I can now go focus on, this account, because it will take time out of your day. It will exhaust you. You will get burnt out following up with the same person over and over again. And then you just start to kind of get disdain, you kind of start hating them a little bit, just because, they're ghosting you, not giving you information. They're wasting your time.
We could go into another conversation about attached and detached salespeople, but we won't go that road.
Yes.
I will say, I kind of love walking away. I kind of love because it's like getting a yes or no. You know you're at a turning point, and you can just put them in your nurture campaign and let the automation take care of it. It takes two people to make a sale. And if the other people aren't interested in doing business, that's okay. I think a lot of times, especially in services that can be customized and like white glove service, it's really easy to fall into this net of like, I really want to make it work for you. I really want to make this work. Even when it was never going to work, potentially, from the start.
Yeah.
And so if you are going to place yourself in the position of a premium white glove service, just looking at services or with products, I think it's okay to have a Rolex approach.
Yeah.
If your discovery call is a little more, tell me why we should work with you. Tell me what you need, what you're doing, and how I can help. Show me why you need my help so that I can help you. And if they come back and they're kind of footing around and they're really not getting into it, there's lots of objections or they're ghosting, then I think that that's a sign that they're not the right fit to work with you, and it's time to walk away.
Yeah. So develop a disqualification framework. Develop something that where you know, hey, maybe you have 3 strikes, maybe you have, certain red flags that you're coming across, and once they hit that barrier, you give them 3 strikes. You go, okay, if I'll, following up, called them for a month straight, that's 1 strike. They haven't responded to me after 2 months, that's 2 strike. Have some sort of framework where you go, okay, once they reach this point, I move them along. No matter what it is or who it is, no matter how big the deal is, no matter how small the deal is, once it gets to this point, I know I've done everything that I can as a sales guy, and I'm just wasting my time at this point and wasting effort and just becoming annoying now. Then let's move them over. Let's move them into those nurture campaigns, because again, forgetting about them and not setting up those nurture campaigns is not acceptable. As a sales guy, no matter what sale, I'm not saying forget it and walk away and never talk to them again. Put them in those nurtures, especially if you've quoted them. If they have a proposal in their hands and you've quoted them, even if you haven't, putting them in those nurture campaigns, because if the need does come back around and you've been nurturing them, you'll have the highest likelihood of at least being the one of the few that they reach out to. And guess what? They come back in the pipeline all the time. We've had people that have fallen out of the pipeline for 2, 3. Sebastian's talking to one right now. Fell out of the pipeline for 2 years, ghosted Kyle, had a full-on conversation, proposal, everything like that. They came in 2 years later because they were aware of us. They were in somewhat of a nurture campaign. They had
Because I
gotten.
chased them down at FabTech.
Oh yeah, and
3 days in a row.
Yep, and Sebastian chased them down. They're back in because they're there. And when you go to those trade shows, another perfect opportunity there for you. You go to trade shows and you have these lists of clients that are in a nurture campaign, pulling them and going, okay, I know these clients are going to be at this trade show, so go up and follow up with them again. That's another follow-up that you can sit there and check off the box. And if you corner them, guess what? You're going to get information from them. Even if it's we're not doing this or this has been pushed for a year, you're going to get some form of information if you're able to corner them. Now, I don't mean show up to a restaurant or a bar and sit there and corner them in the bathroom and be like, you need to tell me right now what the answer is. But, being a little aggressive.
In sales, we use a lot of very aggressive language.
Yes.
It's more of a courtship.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. Like a relationship, as I said.
Speaking of that specific client, they just emailed me.
Oh, really?
We want to look at that, and it is a price objection. Won't say anything beyond that, but it's a price objection. And we came within, I believe we were 10% under their budget. So could this be indicative of another concern, of another change, or have we entered a negotiation stage? Because the proposal is very comprehensive, on point based on our conversation, and we would like to proceed. However, it's significantly over budget, though we know it's under budget. So this seems like the point where we're entering a negotiation stage, where you're not necessarily disqualifying based on price and some of those, we'll say financial points like we talked about earlier. But now we're in a totally different game.
Yeah, you're at
It's a
the
conversation for another podcast. But
but a very good point, because some people will come in, they've given you their budget, and now that you've come in and met their budgets, and sometimes that's a strategy you have to play. We play it with some of our clients. Our clients play it with some of their clients, where it's like, okay, this is my budget. Okay, let's make sure that we're obviously well within the budget, or at least close to the budget. But they're always going to come back, or not always. A lot of people are going to come back with price adjustments. Well, now you met my budget. How much money can I take off now? And you got to make sure that you're explaining to them too, if you've met their budget and you've gone, okay, I've done everything that I can to meet their budget, and they still have that price objection, being, look, I've already gone through and I've met your budget, and explaining to them that you've done the research and understand that this is the amount that they said that it was worth, and pushing it back on them. Well, hold on, you said your budget was this to complete this. I met your budget, so now you're saying your budget has changed. So creating that sense of, okay, things have changed since you've told me originally. I did everything that you told me to do and met your budget, but now you're telling me things have changed. So sometimes pushing it back on them as well helps.
Yeah. And I think it's an easy place for people to get really frustrated. Like, dude, you told me this is how much you could spend.
Yeah.
I worked really hard to make sure the proposal was inside of that, and now you're coming back. Understanding it's not about you. Chances are you're just dealing with a very competent leader.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing purchasing, you should never accept the first price anyway.
Yeah.
This is just a negotiation strategy hidden inside of a budget conversation. And my favorite response is the Chris Voss. How am I supposed to do that?
How
am I supposed to do that?
Yeah.
And then let them answer, because chances are they're going to come back and go, oh, well, we did tell you this price, but this, but that, but the other, and they'll give you other places, other holes in their armor.
Yeah. And if you've met everything, that they're needing to do to that price objection, if they've given you the budget, shouldn't really even be an objection again. So they will obviously come back with it, but pushing that back, well, going back to here, I've met your budget. I'm talking to an authoritative figure. Your needs are met by the product service that I've outlined within this proposal, and it meets your timeline as well. So now it just seems as if you're coming at me to negotiate, and sometimes you have to play the game. It is a game. Sometimes you got to play it, and you got to understand when to play it and when not to play it. We've had it where we've had clients that have come in and gone, okay, this meets everything. What can you do, like, to sharpen your pencil? We come in and we go, realistically, nothing, because you're paying for the expertise, you're paying for everything that you said that you were willing to pay for and needing to get done, and this is how much it costs us. We're a business too. We're not going to lose money. And if they keep coming back and pushing back again, we're going to go back to another point, know when to walk away. If it's too much to and fro, you've been working on this 4, 5, 6 months to try and get on the same price, it probably isn't going to work. Don't give up on it too quickly. Obviously, there is that happy medium, but if you've been working on pricing for more than a quarter or two and their decision was supposed to be back, if you're working on price before they said that their decision timeline is, keep working. But if it's like they were supposed to decide in March and it's August and you guys are still talking, money, maybe again, it's time to move on. Maybe it's time to share with them, look, we've come as low as we can. We can't come any lower. This is it. This is our lowest offer that we can do for you.
Sometimes, and this comes in too with like ghosting, long responses, not getting you direct responses, sort of floating around answers. How they interact with you during the sales and discovery process is going to be how they interact with you when you're working together. And so if you don't like their approach to communication, how they approach negotiation, their response times, things like that, when you are trying to provide them proofs for a service, whether you're doing creative or otherwise, it's going to be the exact same story. And so that could be indicative of a client that's not worth signing, even if everything else lines up. If it takes them 3 weeks to respond to every single email, you don't want to sign them, because that is going to destroy your creative process, and it's going to make it really hard to get your services out for them.
Yeah, exactly. And then understanding that as well, there is a flip side to that, understanding like, hey, maybe if you're dealing with engineers, maybe if you're dealing with somebody that's in the field most of the time, that, hey, this is, something that if you might have a service or a product that you guys offer, that is a normal thing, making sure that you open up the lines of communication even further, maybe getting that cell phone number, maybe getting somebody that you can text so that it might not be their fault that they're not responding to you. So making sure that you understand that as well. Because if it is, as Sebastian said, it's not going to be worth your time. But if it is something that you can work around and it's like, hey, I don't check my emails daily. Sometimes we have clients that don't even check their emails weekly because they're so busy doing other things, whether that be in the field, whether that be that, they're not sitting in front of a computer all day. They're, an engineer that's in the plant doing something, or they're creating the product, or they're creating the service, or they're a CEO that's constantly traveling, doing deals, doesn't have time to realistically sit there until he gets home from work or gets home to his hotel at night to look at things. And he's only going to be looking at high priority things. So making sure that you have some things put in place that can get around that or understand why that they're taking so long to respond.
Understand that you may not be their highest priority.
Yeah.
And find a way to make yourself their highest priority.
Yeah. You're not the main character until you show why you should be the main character.
Until you pull the sword from the stone.
Yes. Yes. So maintaining momentum without exhausting yourself. So going through all of this seems like a lot of steps that you're going to be taking when it comes to following up, but making sure that you're maintaining your momentum, being able to do everything on a daily basis without burning out. Because you can be as productive, you can come in and go, I'm doing this, and you could be doing it for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and you burn yourself out. We are humans. There is only a certain amount of brain capacity, a certain amount of heartbeats that our bodies will take, in our lifetime, certain amount of blinks that we do. There is only a certain amount that we can do. So making sure that the effort that you're putting forth is in the right avenues. Touching back to a lot of the things, knowing when to walk away, the leverage without manipulation. You need to understand that things are not always going to work out the way that you want to. Take those hits and keep going. As what's the famous quote? It's not how hard of a punch you can take, it's how you get back up afterwards.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that.
It's
so
how you set your tasks afterwards.
It's how you set your tasks afterwards. You get that no, you get that, we're not doing this now. Your pipeline's not looking as full as you want it to. Go out there, be hungry, understand this is the amount that I can do every day on a consistent basis. That doesn't mean, work 6 hours a day because that's all I can do and I have to have this. You need to work hard. Sometimes it's 8, 10, 12-hour days, but understanding that sometimes you'll have 8, 10, 12-hour days and other times you might not have those days, and understanding that working your time, your work-life balance is important, but as well as making sure that you have things put into place so that when you are going and doing a project that you're time savvy, that you have, time blocks that you go, okay, I'm going to work on this client, reaching out, creating a proposal for this X amount of time, because it will put you in a sense of urgency as well. If you don't have it and you're like, okay, I got to do all these things today, I'll do them at some point throughout the day. The day is going to come and you've had 5 tasks and you've completed 3 of them or 2 of them or just 1 of them because you haven't prioritized. And that's going to burn you out too, because you're going to go through and it's going to be too many people or too many things that you've done, and you're going to burn yourself out and you go, I can't withstand this. I can't keep doing this on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. But also understanding, and we're going into a little bit of I don't know how to philosophy, okay, as an older man here, as an older person here. Everyone's sitting here laughing.
I think a lot of people are going to disagree with that heavily.
Yeah, well, I'm older than you think I am. Going into a little bit of philosophy here, I came from working from, doing 80, 90-hour weeks, from what I used to do. I used to be in government. I used to work for the governor of Texas, as I probably have said 10 or 15 times on these lives. I came from an 80, 90-hour week job. When I first started that job, I didn't know how I could do this. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if I could keep doing this. It's like working out. If you start off in small chunks, you'll be surprised how much you can add onto your plate once you start really understanding the processes, really start getting those timelines down and understanding things. If you start in bite-sized chunks, you'll realize a year down the road, maybe in January, you're only able to do this amount, but in December, because of the processes, because you've streamlined, because you know how to do things, you're going to be able to do a lot more and you're going to be a lot more effective. So give yourself that opportunity. Set yourself up for success. Don't overwhelm yourself and go, I'm going to do 20-hour days every day, because it's not going to work. But in the future, those 20-hour days could realistically only take you 10 to 8 hours because of your processes.
Yeah,
so
depends where you are if you're making your processes.
Yeah.
I think this could be a good point to talk about something I said earlier, which is the attached salesman and the detached salesman. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't care about your job, your prospects, your work, or anything like that. But it's more of if you take it home. The more you emotionally involve yourself in doing these calls, in making these deals and writing the proposals, and you carry that with you, there's going to be a lot more stress associated with a long close or with somebody walking away, with somebody ghosting you. At the end of the day, you have to treat this like words on an Excel spreadsheet. You're doing tasks. If they don't respond, that sucks, but you move on. And notice about yourself if you have a tendency to attach yourself emotionally to it. Like if you find yourself getting really, really frustrated that someone ghosted, that could be indicative. Like, hey, maybe take a step back from that and understand that your work here is to find the opportunities, and some of them are not opportunities. That's a process of finding. You're going through what's the process of elimination with these people that come through. And so if you're deeply, deeply attaching yourself to every single proposal you send out, you're gonna give yourself a lot of grief.
Yeah.
By the end of it, you're
Yeah.
gonna be really frustrated. You're gonna be really burnt out. You're gonna be really upset. And so it is really nice. It takes a while to do, but once you can detach a little bit and set that task, and just remember, okay, if I don't hear from them, I have a task set in HubSpot. I'll know in 2 weeks I need to send another email instead of checking every single day. Oh, did they open it? Oh,
Yeah.
did they respond? Did they do it? You just pull yourself in, and it stops you from thinking clearly and looking at the bigger picture of it doesn't matter if I qualify them. I just have to qualify somebody. So let's go keep looking.
Yep.
Instead of trying to force a qualification where it may not exist.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. If Kyle was in here, he'd laugh at that example, because when I first started working here, I had been in sales before. The sales that I was in was a little bit more transactional basis. It was not these like long closes, having to put, as much time into these deals as they are. And when I first came working here, whenever somebody didn't choose us or was ghosting, I would get frustrated, like visibly frustrated. Like I would get, they choose a competitor. I'd be like, fuck that, blah, oops, excuse me. I'd be like, blah, 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 beep. I'd be very upset because I'd be like, how did we lose this? We're the better ones, because I do know that we are the best marketing agency out there. We are the best B2B marketing agency out there. So I get very upset, and I'm like, okay, well, why did they choose them? Taking that, it will affect your whole day. You will realize it will affect your whole day. If you just take the punch, yep, lost it, but I've got X and X company in the pipeline that replaces them. Having those next, Kyle always says, you take it and you always have somebody else in the pipeline to replace them. So you go, all right, they're not worth my time now. They said no, I'm going to the next person in the pipeline, and they're now my priority, or these are now my priorities.
If that one sale is so important, there's an issue earlier in your pipeline. There should be enough opportunities there that even if it's a bummer that something doesn't work out, it definitely shouldn't ruin your day.
Don't get me wrong.
Maybe your morning.
Yeah,
You can be bummed for the morning.
don't get me wrong. I still am upset when we lose,
Of course.
an opportunity, or an opportunity doesn't end up working the way that I want it to. But I don't take it personally, because at the end of the day, you're, again, not the main character. You are there's multiple people that have come in. It might not have been anything that you do, but again, those follow-ups, what we've said before, if you do lose an opportunity, follow up with them, ask them why they chose who they chose, ask them why this opportunity didn't progress, those follow-up questions, but we're not going to get into that. Last point, collab with your marketing team. So making sure that you create targeted campaigns to re-engage those stalled clients, making sure that you set up those nurture campaigns. If you don't have a dedicated marketing team, you as a sales guy should be able to set up those nurture emails. If you aren't, you should look into it, or look with partnering with somebody like MFG Tribe. But you should be setting up those targeted campaigns to get those people reinterested, making sure that those campaigns are targeted towards them, not just generic ones. If they're looking for a specific machine, they're in the laser cutting line, they're looking for a specific product, they're looking for a specific service, specific SaaS service, making sure that those follow-ups are catered towards them. Hey, are you still interested in the CRM platform? If you're a HubSpot person, hey, are you still interested in utilizing HubSpot as your CRM platform? Are you still in the decision-making process? Making sure that they do have those follow-ups and those touches, and then every now and then, set a task for you, maybe once every 6 months, once every 3 months, to give them a call. Give some of the ones that were good opportunities that should have closed, or that timelines changed, whatever. Give them a call. Be in their inbox. Be in there. Make it a little bit personalized as well, but don't make that something that you're doing every week. If you've sat there and gone, okay, these ones I'm going to walk away from, put them in the nurture.
Yep.
So again, collab with marketing. All right, we're gonna take a break here in a minute. I just want to have some closing statements. We'll come back, and Sebastian and I are gonna answer some questions, and then we might do some scenarios here. But I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a closer here. At the end of the day, every stalled opportunity, every stalled deal is an opportunity. Let's restart that. At the end of the day, every stalled deal is an opportunity for you to refine your strategy, deepen your patience, and most importantly, master the art of persistence. Remember, slow doesn't mean no, it means not yet. And when it finally does close, oh, the sweet taste of victory. We'll be right back. What is up, guys? We're back.
So
We didn't have any comments. Maybe it's just because, you know, we just answered all your questions out there, or everyone, you know, is on their lunch right now. Is like, we're back. So, and we just got back, so we'll be more consistent. You'll be watching this video on YouTube though, so if you have any questions, make sure you put them down in the comments. We'll shoot back and answer you. If you have any questions that you want us to, or topics that you want us to address in the future, put those in the comments as well. We always like to address your concerns or questions, or come up with strategies to help you guys out there. If we can, we know that there is some aspects of sales that we might not be able to help you out with, but I think that most of it we could. So we're going to go into a little bit of a quick storytelling here. I'm going to let Sebastian kind of tell a quick story, and then I might tell one, or we might go into some scenarios that we could do here. But I'll let Sebastian kind of tell a little bit of a horror story here on what how frustrating it can be.
Yeah, this is just going to be back to my point about attached versus detached sales. And so I don't know if any of y'all know, my background's in photography. I'm a professional photographer. And starting out, of course, you're very emotionally attached because you're in a very vulnerable place. When you're sharing something creative, looks like Alex is going to draw a camera here.
Trying to.
Beautiful. And you're very emotionally attached to what you're providing, and you're giving them a piece of you. It's like, hey, this is my interpretation of your world. Not to sound too philosophical like that way, but
Hey, you're sounding.
when you get into those really long sales processes with something you're very emotionally attached in, it can crush you at the end of it. When that rejection comes through, they go a different direction if they're not happy with it. And being able to take a step back and understand that, okay, this is just business. It's not me. It's not my art. It's not my service. It's not this thing that I poured my soul into. There's another reason. There's so many different factors on why someone doesn't end up going with you. They leave halfway through the contract. Tons of things that you can take and you can learn from. In my end, it's project management with contractors. It's very new, very early. And it's really hard to turn around and put your name on somebody. And so for some of you service people that are working with contractors, I think you can relate to that. Fortunately, we're all in-house. So if there's a problem, you just walk across the room and talk to them. But yeah, just making sure that you have yourself a little bit guarded, a little bit removed, and understand that when you sit down at that table to negotiate or to pitch your product, you're selling a commodity. You're selling something that they want or need, and that's all that matters here. You coming in about how passionate you are, how connected you are, or how important that widget is to you or that service is to you is where you really open yourself up to get discouraged for future sales.
Yeah.
Because a no should be a learning point, not a point to stop.
Yeah. I'll touch on, I guess, a horror story as well. There's so many to go through. You know, as a sales guy, we always have those deals that keep us awake at night that we think that we could have done better. We think we could have had a better pitch, had a better this, had a better that. One of the first deals that I ever did whenever I came into MFG Tribe and I was put in the sales position, they came through, and they're a client of ours now, funnily enough. Oh, Kyle's AirPod Pros just got connected. I wonder if we can mess with him somehow. We'll figure that out later. Oh, he's messing with my pen thing here. I don't know what he's doing. One of my first clients that came, or discovery calls that I had, they are now a future client of ours, or they are a client of ours now. But when they came in, they started asking these questions. I was not able to, necessarily create as in-depth of a strategy for them as I am now. They had a bunch of questions, a lot of pushback, a lot of objections that they're sitting there and they're actually doing. Oh, look, we've got something random behind us. They have a lot of objections that they're doing that I wasn't, as strong or as well versed in to come up against. So, they ended up going, hey, I think that we're going to go with a different marketing agency. So they said that. So I came back to Kyle, kind of very upset. I think that I may have, bumbled the bag, blah, 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 blah. He starts taking a look at things and going, okay, hold on. Everything that has happened so far is rescue. You can rescue it. And when I say rescue it, I didn't necessarily mess anything up dramatically where it was like, okay, we shouldn't even go back at it. It was more along the lines of, okay, they didn't really know what they were asking for, and whoever provided them with the strategy that they got provided seemed to have answered all the questions. Luckily, I had been given a loose strategy of what the other company had addressed with. We came back, created a strategy that actually lined up with what they were needing and the to-dos that they needing to have. We provided that with them. They ghosted us there for a little while. They came back and were like, okay, hey, now we've rearranged or rethought. We've kind of looked at what the strategy that you've put in place with us. We would like to do this on a trial basis. So very out of the ordinary. I went to Kyle and was like, okay, hey, look, are we going to be able to do this? We don't do trial basis. We wanted to work with this company. We knew that we could sit there and be very beneficial to them. So we started off on a lower trial aspect of going, okay, hey, we're going to do this for 6 months and we're going to show you what we do. We did it for 6 months. We did everything that we were supposed to do. We cranked out everything that we wanted to do. They loved it. But at the end of the trial period, they went, okay, we want to add these things into it. Then it went into another 6 months of, okay, now what are we doing? Back and forth. This is what we want. This is how we do. We lost a lot of the momentum that we had in the trial phase, but we got that strategy down. We got it in front of the right people to make them understand that, yes, MFG Tribe is the right person to go with because of what they've proved to us through their 6 months trial strategy that we have, as well as the strategy that we developed. So things are not always, again, I've said it before, things are not always no's. Make sure that you go through and you make efforts, even with the no's, to try and rescue it, to try and go in there and ask the questions and make sure that it actually is a definitive no. Once you get that definitive no, put them in the nurture, put them in those right categories, but making sure that you do give yourself that opportunity as well again.
Yeah.
So I think that's it, guys. I think we're done here. I've got a sales call that I need to head off to. It's 1. So Justin, was there anything else you wanted me to? That was great. Perfect. Justin's giving me the thumbs up. That means that I did good. Hopefully I didn't make a buffoon of myself. I listened to Sebastian and he did great. So hopefully I did half as good as he did. But guys, follow us on LinkedIn, follow me, follow Sebastian, follow Kyle. If you are on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribing down below as well. Put those alerts on. Follow Kyle Mylan as well on YouTube. Follow us on any social media platform that's out there. We'll see if we're out there on TikTok after this whole thing goes down. So fingers crossed for everybody out there that's making money on TikTok that it works out for you. But we'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good one.
Later.